Hey, I'm Quincy and I'm a radio personality, but just like you, I'm always wanting to make better health choices for myself and of course for my family. Now that's why I've teamed up with my friend Dr. Dean Tyndall and the fine folks of New Life Naturopathic, the creators of new-lifeweightloss.com, to bring you a podcast focused on giving you the information you need to make the best health decisions for you and your family. Now, that's going to be without sway from what mainstream medicine has become. Now, this podcast, Pursuit of New Life, we're going to release one each Friday. And we're going to focus on debunking the mainstream medicine myths now associated with naturopathic, holistic medicine, while giving you clear insight into ways you can make your health a lifestyle and not a jump from fad diet to fad diet. Experts in the fields of biochemistry, chiropractic, physiology, women's health, and much more will weigh in on a range of topics, all designed to open your eyes, expand your knowledge, and bring you to new life. Now be sure to subscribe to Pursuit of New Life on all the podcast platforms, and also follow us on YouTube at newlifenaturopathic.com, and be joining us every Friday for Pursuit of New Life.
Hello again, folks. Thanks for stopping by the podcast. This is Pursuit of New Life, and we would encourage you to subscribe, download, and all that good stuff on your favorite podcast platform, as well as find New Life Naturopathic on YouTube. And that is where you can experience the most fun, because we'll have graphics and all that kind of stuff on the video, and you can see all the faces of the team and all of that. But if you just want to hear the audio, the podcast platform is the best way. We are grateful that you are alongside for this holistic journey, and we are going to talk about something today, and often we talk about something that I've only ever heard on commercials that try to bypass or fix it in weird ways. So this one specifically is triggered by a commercial, and we're going to talk about A1C today. And Dr. T, what is A1C in the first place, and which commercial are we going to make fun of today?
We're going to make fun of the one I think is the most hilarious. We don't really have TV at home. We do internet downloads. So when I go to patients' houses to do some house calls, they'll have the TV on, and one of them I think is hilarious is this Jardiance. This lady, she's like probably 250 pounds, and she's dancing around and everything's flopping everywhere. And she's like, "Oh, I can take my Jardiance because it keeps my A1C down." And she's dancing on the fountain and all this terrible food. And all, of course, right behind her, all these people show up. They're all way overweight and they're all dancing. Everything's flopping and flapping. And of course, then they go into this to get your A1C under control. And then what's funny is then they go into the last probably 40 seconds of the commercial, and it causes
all the different things that it could cause.
All the things
just so you can have more sugar. Yeah.
So you eat more sugar, and I guess dance on a fountain, be happy because you're
diagnosis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I always listen to that part though, because oftentimes one of the side effects is what you're taking the pill for. There's usually a side effect that is going to be what you're trying to not have happen.
Yeah. Which kills me because,
death.
Yeah. So anyhow, of course I'm standing there and I'm like, and at the end of the commercial, I said, or you can eat better. So.
Yeah. That's your standard response at the end of drug ads when you're at people's houses.
Or you can eat better. Yeah. So, it's kind of like this. Here's a thought-provoking question that we do in our office here recently, Quincy. And you haven't had this done to you, so I'm going to do it to you now. If I'm going to give you $10 million today.
Okay. I'll take it.
But the caveat is you have to die.
Then I have to die tomorrow?
You have to die tomorrow. Do you want it?
Do I still want $10 million?
Yeah.
If I have to die in the next 24 hours?
Yep. You have to die tomorrow.
Well, I guess not.
That's right. Most people say no. And the reason being, it just gives you, it's a thought process of going, if I'm willing to give up $10 million, like boom, in an instant, it didn't take you much to think about it. Why would you eat foods and do things to your life that reduces the quality of your life and reduces the length of your life? Whereas chiropractic and naturopathic care, what our goal is to improve your quality of life and increase the length of life. So if you're willing to give up $10 million for one day, what would you give to have extra days on your life and have higher quality of life.
I see what you did there. That's really good.
Yeah. So
that's a perspective builder right there.
It's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I'd only give $10 million. So why would you do stuff to make yourself sick? And basically, kind of the reason we're going to talk about A1C, because most people really don't know what it means. I hear patients come in, oh, my A1C is fine. I'm, because I have a lot of patients, and so does Julie. They're way overweight. Well, my A1C is good. My doctor says I'm fine. No. A1C is just one of the few tests that you do. But basically, what A1C is it's measuring what is called glycation of proteins. And the easiest protein or cell to look at is the red blood cell. And the nice thing about the red blood cell is that you get new red blood cells pretty much every 3 to 4 months. And so what happens, you can kind of get a picture of what that person's been intaking dietarily as far as simple carbohydrates, sugar, cake, cookies, candies, pasta, not just sugar. It's all the other hidden stuff like the high fructose corn syrup and all these other things. So basically what glycation of protein is, sugar attaches to your proteins, lipids, and nucleic acid molecules on outside of the cell. So I have to tell people it's like barbecuing your meat. Okay. So what happens is that those cells get sticky and it disrupts, and that sugar sticks to the receptors on the cell. Okay. And what happens, and this is like the others, if you're online on the YouTube, you can see it. It's typically sugar particles in glycation or glucose, fructose, and their derivatives. And they could play a role in vascular complications, which we're going to talk about here, show a picture of that in diabetes mellitus, which is type 2 diabetes.
Well, there's a lot that goes into it, and I know you're going to cover some more of this. You said that this also, is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Dr.
So this
Village
is
wanted next. Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
So this picture here is actually a cross cut of an artery. And you see these little hairs, we realized that these hairs were in the cardiovascular system just until the last several years.
And just for people that are listening to this and not getting to see the beautiful picture, this literally looks like an eyelid with eyelashes on the cross section. So that kind of helps describe what you're seeing inside your artery here.
Yeah, and what those hairs are, it's called the glycocalyx. And they have that what that glycocalyx does is it's like Teflon. It keeps red blood cells from hitting the arteries, so it doesn't damage the arteries. Also, you need that glycocalyx because it monitors your chemistry, your blood chemistry. So your body has a feedback mechanism like blood pressure, how to monitor your blood chemistry, inflammation, all kinds of neat stuff. Well, this glycocalyx is very susceptible to sugar and inflammation. So what happens is when these get too much sugar in the bloodstream and inflammation, this glycocalyx gets destroyed. And the problem that you have then is red blood cells then hit the cardiovascular wall, and it can cause sticking or clotting if it happens a lot. So that's why when you see people with diabetics and high blood sugar levels, you see clotting problems and cardiovascular problems. This is why. So when those red blood cells are constantly hitting that vascular wall, it causes inflammation and irritation, which then the body responds by laying down cholesterol to patch and repair. So cholesterol isn't a plumbing problem. You don't have too much cholesterol flowing around the bloodstream like the doctors tell you, and it clogs up your arteries. Cholesterol is an inflammation problem, and cholesterol is an anti-inflammatory response to inflammation in the cardiovascular system.
Wow.
So the more inflammation you have, the higher your likelihood of having clogging of the arteries and damage on the arteries and cholesterol buildup within the arteries.
And it's more than just diabetes too, from what I'm seeing here too. It's Alzheimer's and renal disease, cancer, all of that can be traced back to this.
Correct. So when we go to the next slide, on all your cells, you have receptor sites. And all these receptor sites, you have neurotransmitters and all this different information that are specific, like hormone, like say one is for your receptor site for T3, and the other one's a receptor site for neurotransmitter, and another one's a receptor site for adrenaline, and the other one's a receptor site for norepinephrine, and all the other hundreds of hormones that your body makes. And what these hormones and these neurotransmitters do is they They dock with the receptor site and they tell the cell to do specific activities. Well, if you take all these receptor sites and you coat them with sugar, okay, they don't function. Thus, the cell doesn't function, which puts you in a disease state. So when you listen to the commercial on the A1C, you'll hear it's associated with all those diseases, Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, all these things. Because looking at the red blood cells, the sugar on the red blood cells gives you an indication of how the rest of the cells in your body are covered with sugar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, the higher the A1C, the more your cells in your body are covered with the sugar, and it alters the cells. And then another problem with glycation is you get AGEs in glycation, or glycation end products, which are aging. So this is what's an interesting thing. The more sugar and simple carbohydrates you make, the more it damages your tissues. And one of the tissues that we see every day is our skin.
Yeah.
So when you see the person with the wrinkles and the brown spotches and the patches and all the ugly, the skin messed up, this is what I find is another thing that's interesting. Women will spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars on makeup products, skincare products, and all this other stuff. But when you ask them to give up their sugar-laden coffee and their ho-hos and their, sugar, they're basically sugar in their life.
Sugar, and more sugar, yes.
Sugar, and more sugar in their life. They don't want to do it. Oh, I don't want to do it. But you'll spend hundreds, even thousands of dollars on all these products for your body. And guess what? If you actually get change in your diet, guess what happens? Your skin gets healthier, everything gets healthier.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the other diseases more than just diabetes. We're going to show a list that is impacted by this damage, and it's not even really a complete list, but you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, all of the different things that can be impacted.
Yeah, so systemic local inflammation, diabetes mellitus, chronic and acute kidney disease, strokes, cancer, sepsis, ischemic reperfusion, atherosclerosis, high blood pressure, viral infections because it damages your immune system, traumatic brain injury. The reason being is your brain, like Alzheimer's, is actually what they're finding out, which we've mentioned before, is type 3 diabetes. Your brain actually gets kind of crystallized sugar in the tissues. Excess sodium, hypovolemia. So there's a whole bunch of different problems that are associated with back to having too many bread, cake, cookies, candies, pasta, sugars. And we understand that patients are addicted to these products. The food industry has done this to people. And that's why, again, we put our eating program together to help people get themselves under control, get themselves past those addictions so they can actually create that health back in their life. And we did it with good, healthy foods and tasty foods, because it comes back to this. If you don't like the foods that you're eating, you're not going to stay with the program.
Right.
And so that's why we try to have really good foods in there, good recipes in there. We want you to eat at home. Again, we've talked several times about the benefits of eating at home, eating these types of foods and stuff.
Yeah, and that's new-lifeweightloss.com. And Miriam, some of the things that we're talking about here can be balanced out if you get a program and you start eating right. You can balance some of this stuff out and take care of it without, the creepy commercial medicine. So talk a little bit about the weight loss site and the importance of getting these kind of meals and balance to fix this problem.
Sure. Yeah, that's absolutely right. A lot of factors contribute to your, changes in your A1C level and of course, vice versa, just like with anything else. But, on our weight loss website, we actually have a lot of great meals to help you either lower or, for most people, you want to lower it or, just get it back in range, your A1C. And, they're very delicious. And, we can definitely talk more about that. But, your optimal range is usually between 5.1 and 5.4, if I'm not mistaken. And, a lot of people go into these, doctors' offices and MDs and, and they think they're within range, but they're usually not. And we also provide a few comprehensive channels that include A1C, as well as diabetes-related tests, and those blood tests are also very important to keep gauging. Though, you usually want to get tested at least once a year. Twice a year would be good. Correct me if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Tyndall, but A1C is not just related to diabetes, as we just saw on the last slide. It contributes to various health issues, cancers, diseases, and it's very important to keep track of your levels.
Well, no, I think the key point you made too, where New Life Naturopathic can help, is your testing looks for more than just A1C, and you don't use that as the one end all be all in the testing either.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yep, and that's what we provide in our comprehensive panels.
And that, we've had other episodes talking about DNA testing. So Dr. Stuber, you've had people come in and talk a lot about A1C, which, people are being conditioned to talk about A1C because that's what's in the commercials. That's what people know, because that's the narrative of getting that one thing under control, whether it be by drug or whatever. What do you hear when people are coming in and talking to you about what they're dealing with?
Well, what I hear is, I just had my labs done. Dr. Tyndall and I go over it, and I also hear, my A1C, I got my A1C normal. Oh, my A1C is better. Oh, my A1C is a little bit high. And we use a variety of tests. A1C basically tells us what you've been doing over the last 3 months. How sticky has the sugar made your blood? As Dr. Tyndall tells me, and I know, patients lie. They just do. They know, and I don't quite understand why, because we can't help them if they don't tell the truth, but that's a whole nother story.
I think that's the biggest thing I ever learned from the show House. Did anybody ever watch that show?
Oh, that's where Dr. Tyndall got it from.
Yeah, Greg.
I didn't get it from House. I got it from life experience.
I was going to say Dr. Tyndall would be perfect in that role of all credence to who played the role. But yeah, that was the biggest thing they talked about every case. They would be talking to these people and trying to figure out what was wrong with them and having to go and inspect their house to get the truth because patients lie.
Yes. And people don't understand, first of all, what A1C is and why it is tested. And because of that, they think that A1C is a tell-all for their state of health. Just some of that has to do with the drug marketing, and all these new drugs like Dr. Tyndall was talking about, weight loss drugs and sugar. People know that sugar's bad for them. So many times they come into the office because they just want an excuse to eat it. They know better, but they want me to tell them an out so they can eat it. And it's just not reality. But a good analogy, and most women understand this, if you've ever had a child or a friend's child that drinks soda, let them spill the soda and try to clean it up. That is the stickiest, nastiest. You're cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. Well, that's exactly what sugar does to your blood. So if you think about, say, a glass of water versus Coke trying to clean them up, that is the difference between sugary blood and sticky cells and sticky arteries and healthy ones. So that's a very simplified analogy. But what we do, what I like to explain to patients is we test fasting glucose, we test A1C, and you have to test fasting insulin because we want to see what is your body doing with the sugar and over time, how much damage has it done? And there's a lot of other tests, but what we do is we want to correlate what a patient is telling us versus what we're seeing objectively in the test, and then trying to develop a plan so they can be healthy.
Yeah,
And
your
we
job
always
is tough. Your job is tough because you got to take what you're hearing from them, but also what you know by what you're seeing.
Well, that's the art of being a doctor. That's the art of, that's why you go to the doctor, right? Like, one thing we try to deal in reality. So you can't fool a fool, I believe they say. But after 30 plus years in practice, you can almost look. You can look at somebody, and if they're 30 or 40 pounds overweight and their blood pressure, honestly, there's not a disease that I can think of that sugar doesn't either cause or gigantically contribute to. I can't think of one. And the studies that are coming out now, we're realizing that. And, when they start promoting these drugs, well, then, we're going to get all the research together. So it just reinforces that we got to get the sugar down and sell some more drugs. The good news is we use that research and say, well, we've been telling you that all along. So, it's like, why do you pay to poison yourself? I'm like, would you pay me $20 to drink a cup of hemlock? No, you wouldn't. So I don't quite understand.
Well, I saved a meme that I saw on social media recently just for this episode. It says, in the U.S., we have a candy holiday followed by a pie holiday, next a cookies and candy holiday, before a boozer holiday, and we call it flu season rather than sugar poisoning season. And so I thought of Dr. Tyndall as soon as I saw that. So
someone must have listened to our podcast, because that's when we talked about which the immune
Sugar
system
is
and
poison.
flu.
Yeah.
And it's sugar season,
I will say,
right? You guys have listened to us and made a meme. Yay!
Hey, we made meme. We're in the meme verse. All right.
Weight problems. I mean, if you cut sugar out, you're not going to have a weight problem, because sugar is what makes you fat, plain and simple. When you don't eat refined sugar, your insulin levels become normal. Your body cannot deposit excess fat. Your cardiovascular system gets healthy, so you can utilize oxygen. You can burn fat like you're supposed to. Sugar causes mood swings. It causes all kinds of problems, fatigue. Just lack of function. That's why, people reach for these sugary drinks. And again, I always think about spilling them. Just like spilling a glass of chocolate milk versus a glass of regular milk. All that sticky, gooey, syrupy stuff, that is what's going through your body. So sometimes if you start visualizing that, it just, I don't know, it's just kind of grosses me out.
But
sorry.
But Dr. Stuber, I love my sugar.
I can't do anything for you.
Okay, but here's my thing, and Dr. Tyndall.
Supplement away a bad diet. So
That's true. Yeah.
The reality too is people think they're really giving something up.
Yeah.
And what they don't understand is there's all different kinds of sugars. And sugar depletes other nutrients. So when you start giving your body good nutrition and the nutrients that it needs, those cravings for sugar go away, because your body can function properly. Like when all you're doing, it's like putting bananas in the gas tank of your car and expecting your car to run properly. It just isn't going to happen. So it's an addiction, and it's a very tough addiction. And that's why we're here. We're here to work on it with you. I've never been a sweet craver. And part of it's because I know if I ate sweets, I would be 400 pounds at least, because I like to eat. I like my food. And one of the most wonderful things about our program, Dr. Tyndall and Miriam created, new-lifeweightloss.com, is you learn how you can eat natural sweets. There's sugars, carbohydrates, which we covered before, in fruits and vegetables that are more than satisfying. And when you start replacing white refined sugar with good, healthy, natural sugars that clean out those receptors and stimulate them properly, you create health. Like I was doing some posting today, and I looked back. Today, I was looking at my before and after. I was looking at when I came here. And the changes when I went on the program, and it was really an automatic process. As soon as I started eating the food, it was like, oh man, this is so good. I can't wait for the next meal, which is getting cool out. So it's about time for that sweet potato chili. But anyway, I've just gotten healthier and healthier and healthier. And I don't crave sweets. I mean, I never liked them a whole lot because I know the damage they do. But the other thing is, without fail, I've never met a person that eats a lot of sweets that ever felt good. You know, I mean, it's just automatic. Oh, but I got to have that sugar, but I feel terrible. Well, I got to have the sugar, but I feel terrible. Well, which do you want more? You want to feel good or you want to eat sugar? I mean, it's pretty black and white, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, you mentioned the car earlier with the bananas and the gas tank and expecting it to run. And it made me think we haven't had a good car analogy from Dr. T on this one. But what I was thinking about earlier is, you know, you're talking about all these sodas. I remember one time, I don't remember if it was my dad or my brother, we had an issue with the battery and it was really corroded. And they got a soda, I think it was Coca-Cola, if I'm not mistaken. And they poured it on there and it ate the corrosion off of the
It eats the enamel of your teeth. It's
the same thing that causes all the stickiness in our arteries and all this other stuff can also corrode battery acid. Like, so,
Yeah.
It even will pull the calcium right out of your bones. When you look at the chemistry of it, it's really very damaging.
Well, so as we wrap up this one, Dr. Tyndall, we went into some depth on some of this on A1C, and we want people to understand, again, the poisonous nature of sugar. What else do you want to make sure people go away from this episode with today?
You know, when it comes to your health, you know, again, kind of back to what we talked about, the $10 million. Here's the thing that, and you Dr. Stewart hit on it for a second. You know, a lot of people have this mindset when especially when they do naturopathic care, they have this mindset that, oh, I have to give up something. Oh, you know, gotta give up my donuts. I gotta give up my, you know, base biscuits and gravy. And what you should be looking at is, wait a minute, I'm eating that stuff and I'm giving up my life. I'm giving up my quality of life. I'm giving up my length of life. Why would I want to give that up? You know, years ago, I had a lady patient, diabetic, kidney failure. You know, and we've talked about it before, you know, and she kept eating donuts. Her husband bought her donuts and And I'm like, you know, do you want to see your kids grow up? Do you want to see them get married? Do you want to see grandchildren? Because if you do, is eating a donut or your ho-hos or the stuff that you're eating, is it worth eating that stuff so you lose that future? And that's as simple as it gets. Instead of looking at it as, oh, I have to give up something, you need to look at it as, hey, what am I gaining? I'm gaining my health back. I'm gaining my vitality back. I'm gaining, you know, pressure off my joints. You know, another one of my patients it's somewhat frustrating because I do chiropractic and we do naturopathic. And in my office, you get to choose if you want to do one or both. You know, we're here to help people who want to be helped. We're not here to push stuff onto people. And I have one of my patients that she's probably 325 some pounds. She invested her life in money in her financial health. Now she's at a point in her life where she could slow down because financially she's doing really well. The problem is she did not invest in her physical health. And so she's way overweight. Her knees hurt, her back hurts, her legs hurt. And, you know, she's doing some of the supplements to try to get her blood sugar levels controlled, but she's trying to do it without eating healthy. And again, 80% of weight loss is eating healthy. And she keeps complaining to me about how she doesn't feel good and her knees hurt and her back's hurt and what she got to do. And I keep telling her, I said, well, you have to eat healthier, but she refuses to do it. You know, again, we're here to help. when you're ready for that help, we'll give it to you. But in the meantime, I'm not going to lie to you. We're not going to, BS you about stuff. This is what it is. And if you want it, we'll help you get there. And if you do, that's okay. So
we're
yes.
not sugarcoat. No pun.
There you go, Miriam.
I was trying to think of what I was going to say about sugar, but I'm not going to say anything now after that. Miriam hit it. Nope. We're not going to sugarcoat it. And I like it. Well, folks, we definitely don't sugarcoat it. And if you've watched long enough, you know that that's the case here on this program or podcast. New Life Naturopathic is the same way, and want to just make sure that you're getting information that's going to help you and help your family. And we encourage you to subscribe to Pursuit of New Life as a podcast, or of course find New Life Naturopathic on YouTube. We will not sugarcoat it. That's going to be the new tagline for the podcast. That's it. We'll just drop the mic and see you next time on Pursuit of New Life.
See you.